All right, so we're joined from Houston by one of my best friends on the planet, Christa Johnson, with Logix there in the tech in South Texas. We are in the STEM career cluster. We got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for our friends at Rosa Scott, Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So we thank you as always for taking some time for us today. I always have to say every time you're with us, it is amazing how small the world is because
Yes, definitely.
if you're from Chicago, went to the same high school as our friend Coach Martin, who was
Hmm.
with us for several years here at Velma Jackson. You attended for a short time Jackson State, and
Hmm.
your aunt lives down the street from me in Flowood. So it is
Yes.
absolutely unbelievable how small the world is with you being in Houston. So it's just really cool, all those connections. And as always, thanks for joining us because you have such a cool path.
Thank you.
And we always talk about the options for kids coming out of high school. And you didn't do the traditional college path. You started that way, but you kind of deviated from that. So take us through that because you became an engineer without going through the traditional 4-year college route that so many kids think they have to take.
Definitely. And like you said, it is a small world indeed, and I owe you a visit. So, um, yes, sometimes you don't have to go through the 4-year path. It's so stressful sometimes, and then I have, you know, bonus nieces and nephews of mine that have actually extended their college years out to 5 and 6 to try to, catch up. And I was lucky and blessed enough to actually be a part of a vocational high school with Coach Martin and learned a lot about my field and my trade there. But even if I didn't, I went to a technical based college. And when I went to a technical based college, I actually learned more hands on skills, more lab work, more opportunities as far as physical, not only the mathematical side, the scientific side, the book side. When you take those routes and then also incorporate a lot of the certifications that are out there, you can work for grants. You can actually get money towards those certifications because they're expensive, and you have to keep going. They're nonstop because the world is ever changing. Um, so definitely take advantage of alternative routes because sometimes the 4-year college path isn't for everyone. And even with my associate's degree, I was able to move so much further. And even it has allowed me to build my connections that way because sometimes that traditional route is not as helpful for others than it is for some.
Absolutely, especially in your field. And some of the kids that'll see this later are part of the Academy of Engineering at Ridgeland High School. And we also at our VOTEC Center at the Career Technical Center also have an engineering program as well. But, like we said, for some of the kids that may say, look, I want to get into engineering, but I don't want to spend 4 years of college and get into debt.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
even on a community college level, and I'm sure you see this at your company and in your former company, they're more interested in hiring people that have the skills. So if you just got a 1 year certificate in network engineering or computer science or associates in one of those fields, we have great community college programs here as well that you could get into this field and then get the experience and work your way up that way.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just that branch that leads to a different tree of life for you. Everybody doesn't have the same path. And the beauty of this is that it's an opportunity for you to make it the way you want to make it. And you don't have to follow anyone else's path. And, you know, I was I was grateful enough to have two parents who understood. They didn't understand as well as much as first, but once they understood my path and they understood that it was a part of a passion of mine, and I thought about you have to think about your plan and you have to think about the routes you're going about. And it's not always going to be easy. There's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be situations that can discourage you, but also it's to help build that character. It's to help build that conversation piece when you're in the interview rooms, when you're talking to people, when you're mentoring like this. And it actually helps people understand that no one has an easy path in this world. It's not easy. And it's worth every fight that you go through.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into what it is you do with Logix, you
Hmm.
have a large background in telecommunications. Actually, like me, you also worked for Sprint Nextel, and then you're
Hmm.
also with Verizon. So talk a little bit about those, because those are both great fields to stay into, and also with the growing need of technology and apps running everything,
Hmm.
there's a huge need for network engineers. And also the
Yeah.
tech.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that experience, because that's a great field that people can get into, like we said, with just the 1 and 2 year certificates.
Hmm. And not to show my age, but also I was one of the original geeks on Geek Squad for Best
Oh,
Buy.
I forgot about you were.
So, so I was one of the originals. And the cool thing about that was, you had hands on, and a lot of people don't realize, like, okay, it's retail, but also there is a technology side, there's a technical side that you are hands on with every single day. And yes, you deal with multiple different types of people. You deal with customers, you deal with people who are angry, or deal with people who are not so angry, they're patient, but also you are responsible for repairing, building, correcting, enhancing, all of that. So my original start, even while I was in college, was at Best Buy. And that's sometimes some of the best places to go, because you learn the business. You also learn your technical skills in that environment, because it's a fast paced environment. And then also you build a network as well, because you're communicating and you're talking to people of all walks of life. You never know who walks into those stores. Like, I'll even give a prime example. Travis Barker walked into my store, and I was a nervous wreck, but he actually, was like the coolest guy. And I had to help him, set up his laptop, because he was in Chicago doing a show. And he wanted me to upgrade some malware, some software, for antivirus stuff. And you never know who you're going to walk into, not just famous people, but people of, certain statures in life that can actually assist you. I've built strong relationships working in the public environment of retail. When I started at Sprint, I worked with the Chicago White Sox and helped them. When I worked with Verizon was probably one of my proudest moments, because even though I was behind the scenes a lot more in the call center, I was still helping. I was still hands on. We already know when you have to call customer service or tech support, you are not happy. Okay. So it was my job to change that mentality of a person, but also to resolve the issue and help them understand what the situation was and help them learn. And you're giving them a gift when you help someone learn what is going on with the device that they've invested in, because anything that's over $50, people, is an investment. It needs to be insured, it needs to be protected, it needs to be, thought of. And everybody has an iPhone, a Galaxy device, a tablet, something of value that is worth more than $50. So you need to learn those pieces of equipment through and through. And even the things we use day to day in life. So my job at Verizon not only was to help customers, but then when I moved into the actual network, it was to build that network so people could learn. When I got to Houston, I worked at NRG Stadium and helped create the 5G network in the football fields. So we were testing, we were learning. So these things that we may take for granted, or we may not even know that it's there. And those things you take pride in, because, hey, I flipped the switch on that. I gave that a sense of life. And sometimes working in that public environment and in that field gives you those opportunities that you never thought you could have.
Yeah, and you also, and when you were on the network side, you were wearing the hard hat, which you don't see a lot of females doing that. You were wearing the hard hat, and
Hmm.
put the wires together, and helping with the towers, especially with the hurricane relief. So
Yeah.
the network, we always see the medical response people, and obviously they're extremely important. But the network for people being able to communicate and still be able to do business, the economy depends on it. And you as a network engineer had a huge hand in that on hurricane relief.
Yeah. And that's the thing that people don't understand is we need to communicate at the end of the day. And even our emergency response systems need to communicate with each other in those types of disasters. And that was a great opportunity that I had to have with Verizon and now with Logix. Even when we deal with doctors' offices and hospitals that have power outages or brownouts and their phone systems go down, it is my responsibility to build that back up because people depend on them just like they depend on us. And at the end of the day, we have to make sure things are working so the world keeps moving and that people are safe, that people are able to communicate with their family and friends, but most of all, to get things done.
Yeah, and that's also a cool part about engineering is yes, you deal with the technical side, but you have a lot of hands-on stuff. So the kids that like to build stuff, there's always on the network and on the hardware side, it's been in Logic. And we just saw the videos of those big servers. If stuff goes down, we got to get you got to have people in there getting the wires and fixing stuff with
Mm-hmm.
screwdrivers and on all that stuff. So there really is a great combination of the software work and the hardware work in this type of engineering. So now after those years in telecommunications, you're now still in telecommunications at Logix there in Houston. So Logix is a Texas-based uh, fiber network for businesses in the state of Texas and expands a little bit outside of Texas. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you also have a huge part in that as well because businesses have to communicate, especially now more than ever after COVID. And we were looking at some of the videos of the big fiber optic cables being laid in the ground. So there is a really cool mixture of, yeah, we're out there digging in the dirt and putting things together, but we're also having to help on the software side. So talk a little bit about Logix.
Exactly.
It's a really cool company there in Texas.
Logix is definitely a very cool company here, and I'm fortunate to be a part of it. We, like you said, we work for anywhere from in the ground to on the field and outside and inside from remote areas. We actually have to go into the offices sometimes and work with those customers hands on to make sure their networks are up and running. We make sure that the communication is there. It's just simple as that. It works for our customers, and then also we run to the disasters as well. If something goes down, we're the first ones on site. We're the last ones to leave. We work with the fiber cables. We work with our networks not only being virtual and easy for the customers to use and self-serve, but also, we are the ones that built that network for them to have. And it's a beautiful thing. It's great because you get to see so much that goes on. And yes, a lot of people call because they have problems and they have issues, but who doesn't? Um, but we also are there because we have a passion to resolve the issue. We have a passion to grow. We have a passion to make things better. And that's what Logix is definitely about. And then also the fact that it promotes inclusivity and individuality here. A lot of people would look at me like, oh, she's a woman. She's always in the nail salon getting her nails done. She doesn't look like the typical, technician or anything. And I'm like, no, there is no typical anymore. We
Absolutely.
all come from all walks of life. You know, there is no mold anymore. We broke that mold a long time ago, and we continue to build from the pieces that were there, but we continue to do it better. And the thing is that Logix, everybody is respected as an individual as well. So it makes it even better when you're valued in that sense as a person, but not just as an engineer.
Yeah, and another thing about the engineering, and they're all watching you on a MacBook right now, so I'm doing the iOS system. But if you're in engineering, how many different operating systems and software systems do you need to know? Because they want to just try and complain about, oh, I don't like using Windows. This it's no fun. But
Countless.
yeah, exactly.
let's just say it. Countless. There is no ending in sight. I mean, I am considered one of the new school engineers and new school technicians on this side. And I'll even give you my personal opinion. I dislike anything with DOS, the old school black green screen, typing and script writing. I dislike it, but I know it's a part of my career. I know it's a part of my path, and I know it's something that I still need to learn, and it's still relevant. Oh, it may not look relevant to people, but it is very relevant, and it helps me access so many different things, so many different networks. It helps me access so many different switches. It actually gives me direct access to my clients and customers, so I can actually remotely resolve the issue for them. So a lot of people think the latest and greatest is always the fix. No, sometimes the OGs made it and the OGs keep building on it and it makes it better. So that's the one thing. It's countless types of networks and operations.
Now the other thing, and I ask every engineer the same question. I've asked you this before, but I want these kids to hear it. How often do engineers actually get it right the first time? Because so many
We
times
don't,
something they're like, "Oh, this is too hard. I quit."
we don't, we don't. Um, there is a 90% chance you're going to fail at least once in the project. As long as you keep great notes, you follow through, you communicate with your team, and you learn to forgive yourself. Um, One of the hardest things that, and this is just my moment of transparency because you guys are very special and important to me. My biggest fear every day is I'm going to shut a network down and we cannot rebuild from it. Yes, yes, yes. I wake up every morning and I say, God, please don't let me shut this network down today. So but also you have to know that you have the support from your team. Your team is going to get you through it as long as you communicate it. You do not hold that pressure to yourself because when you hold that pressure to yourself, you are more liable to make those mistakes. You're more liable to create a problem. And then when you don't communicate to others who may have experienced it or even haven't experienced it, they're able to troubleshoot with you and partner with you to help grow the grow the solution instead of growing the problem. So definitely like you're going to have fear, you're going to have concerns, you're going to be nervous and it's okay. And you're going to make mistakes. We are not perfect. We may be considered geeks, nerds, and everything else. We are not perfect. No one is. And you are who you are because of your individuality. You're who you are because of your innovative skills. And you're who you are because you're passionate about what you do. You bring those three things to the table, no one can stop you. They can't do anything but help you and support you in that. And if
Yeah.
they don't support you, then they'll learn to get along with you still.
Yeah, and I'm glad, and something else. And before I get to the students' questions, is you
Mhm.
talked about the retail side of tech. I think that is for somebody looking to get into any type of tech or engineering field. I think that's a great idea to do, even part time while they're in school, because
Yeah.
these kids get so mad at us when we want them to present in front of the class. But it's not to be mean; it's to get those customer service skills. Because even if you are working as an engineer, you have to be the expert. You have to explain to the customer why something isn't working. So there are very few careers on this planet that you completely have to not deal with customers at some point. Now, obviously,
Hmm.
you are comfortable speaking. I mean, I've spoken in front of 2,000 people before, and I didn't have a problem with that. You don't have to be like that. That's not what these companies are asking. But being able to communicate and work with anybody, because at the end of the day, every business is going to need customers. So you got to be able to communicate, and that is such a big deal. And
Hmm.
yeah, so I think anybody wanting to get into any type of tech field or engineering field, you could just work. A place like Best Buy is always looking for people that are in school for that. You could work there part time, and I think that'd be
Hmm.
want to be great with not a bad paycheck, but also it will look great on a resume. And again, you never know who you meet. It's amazing when I was working retail, the people that I ran into because everybody has.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's
that's
true.
a
You
great point.
never know who you meet. Like I was saying earlier, I've met so many people, and not just because they were famous, but because of who they were. And they appreciated the fact that I treated them like a person. I gave them respect. I also helped them understand what was going on. And it helped me build those connections. And not to mention, especially if you go to Best Buy to work, the discount is nice. So
Uh,
and even if you work at, you know, a cellular company, if you work for Verizon in the stores, if you work for T-Mobile in those stores, you still get discounts. I mean, you have to think about it. You are dealing with so much. They got to give you something, not only just a paycheck. And those are great opportunities to walk into as well because you grow within those companies. If you don't want to stay in the stores, be focused on doing what you do great now so you can go to greater later. And That's what a lot of people don't see. They see, oh my goodness, she's, I got to work with people. I got to work outside. I got to do this. No, sometimes it's a stepping stool. It's just you got it. You just it helps. I mean, it takes a lot of time. I have a lot of friends who are just like, Krista, you talk so easily, and I'm like, that's not always easy for me to do. And it's not always easy for me to approach. It's not always easy for me to deliver the bad news, but everyone deserves that information. And because I give it to you in such a respectable manner, or because I give it to you in a manner to where I help you understand instead of fault you for it, it makes things a lot easier for our customers because everyone's a customer and no one wants to feel like they've done anything wrong when they have to come to someone for assistance. And the best thing that you can do in any situation is to help them by being relatable.
Yep. So and again, it's funny how every single field we've had in this class has talked about the soft skills, but that gets overlooked so much. But
Yeah.
I do have some questions here. These are really good. This first one's two questions. This is Michaela Davis. She's a junior. And the first one is this is great. Is asked if you knew where you would be today in your career without a college degree, would you have still chosen to start attending college?
Hmm. If I knew today, I still would have started. I think the environment, the opportunity, just to be there, I would have. It didn't change one bit. Sometimes, like I said, there is no streamline for for anybody that can get to where they need to be. So don't take any opportunity or don't take any setback as something that is to hurt you, is to help you. So, when I left, I was unhappy, but I was more concerned about the situation as to why I left. And I knew I needed to regain focus. And it gave me a lot more than what I could have ever imagined. So no, I don't want to change any step I took. No.
Yeah, I always talk about, with the kids about the few things in life I regret, and me changing colleges was not one of them. So I'm with you.
Hmm.
There's no shame in starting a path and changing it because you have to do what's best for you. So I agree. Now her other question
Yeah.
is, what is the major challenges you face in your field?
Competition. Um, Sometimes, as I spoke earlier, we have great team environments, but sometimes you don't have such great team members when they're having a bad day, or some people come in feeling like it's a competition and it's not. I walk in to my well, I virtually sign in every day into my device, and I actually let them know every day, hey, I am a part of this team. We are a team. We work together. I am open for communication. I work with everyone equally. I treat everyone equally with respect. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And I don't like to blame it because I'm a woman. I don't like to blame it because, I'm a part of the LGBTQ community. I don't like to put that in the perspective. I just put it into the perspective of someone feels like I may be in competition with them, but I have to let them know, no, this is not a competition at all. We are respectfully working together.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you the same respect that I hope that you would give me.
Yeah. Because yeah,
Hmm.
and that's a good point too, because I always say, we're kind of a sheltered community up here in Camden, but I'm like, once you get out, and whether you go to college or whether you work, you don't get to choose your coworkers. You're gonna have to be able to work with anybody.
No, not
You.
at all.
I always say, and they get mad because I assign the groups in some of these projects. I'm like, you don't have to be friends, but
Exactly.
you have to be able to work together for a common goal. Because I always talk about I had coworkers I couldn't stand, but I had to work with them. So luckily I don't have that anymore. But I think most adults have dealt with that at some point in their life.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You'll never have everyone on your side or everyone on your team, but you will gain that respect
Yep.
because you treat them with the respect that you want as well. And that's all it is. It's the golden rule. That's
Absolutely.
it.
Now, here's a good question. This is a more of a tech question. This is Lycaria Jackson, one of our great band members, plays a clarinet here, and she asked, "What? How do you determine how strong a fiber? How do you determine how strong the fiber is in the connection?"
Well, it's a series of testing. Sometimes we have our tools, our test tools, but then also, depending on where you are, you can actually test it through the network itself. Um, I use um, I use Putty, which is my DOS system, as I said before. And there's a lot of other ways you can test it, but then there's also a small tool that I used to use when I was running fiber at Verizon to see the magnitude and the connection speeds. And so with that, that actually helped. But also a lot of times because I am remote more, I do more so through my systems. So some of the systems are proprietary to the company and some of them are publicly used. So
Cool.
it all depends on where you are.
Yeah. And this is another tech question. This is Rashunta Pierce, one of our basketball players here. And she asked, "What are the biggest pros of fiber internet service as compared to other forms of internet service?"
Security.
Really?
Simple as that. Security. Fiber's faster, but also more secure. Um, Copper now and T1, sadly, is going away, but also copper is a high value metal at this point,
Wow.
and people are stealing it, literally
Wow.
stealing copper, and it's a lot of people. A lot of customers in my areas that we are working to enhance and build um, stronger connections with fiber because they were on that older path. And with them being on that older path, people were actually going underground and stealing the connection, which means it's shutting down their service.
Wow.
And it's so heartbreaking because that's the way the world is at this point. But they see the value in copper and then they sell the copper out. So now we have to rebuild that copper, but if the copper is not available, it's harder. So with fiber, it's more secure because of the bandwidth, but not only secure virtually, but it's secure physically as well. So it's not as easy for someone to take that. And fiber, with it being glass, it's a faster connection.
Wow. I did not know that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's a great question. Just got two more. This is Jarvis Lyles. He's
Mm-hmm.
great. And he asked, what is the favorite thing you've ever designed as an engineer?
I love, absolutely love building the network for NRG Stadium.
That's pretty cool.
I loved it. I loved being a part of it. I loved, you know, partnering with people. I loved learning what I was able to do. I loved every piece of that project and it helped me grow. It helped me be a stronger piece to the puzzle. And then when it came down to, I actually, actually was able to see it at its best. I was excited. I was truly excited. It meant the world to me. So yeah, I mean, NRG was
It's pretty
great.
cool to drive by a believable building like that and say, "Hey,
It's like I did
absolutely."
that.
There's a huge sense of pride in that. It's got one more, and this is Amari Williams,
Sure.
actually relocated here from Texas.
Hmm.
And he asked, "What do you enjoy most about your job?"
Helping, being a part of the resolution, and I learned this at Verizon, but it stuck with me because I kind of lived by it all my life, especially working in the field of retail. It's people that have problems makes my job. It's customers, it's clients, it's doctors, it's nurses, it's everybody from all walks of life that keeps me in my seat and gives me value. And to know that, I'm needed, know that I'm appreciated, know that I'm valued by those people. It's not always about the paycheck. Sometimes it's about the passion. And the fact that I'm able to be the resolution for a lot of people is the best feeling for me.
Awesome. Well, we're
Mhm.
almost out of time, and as always, it's just such a joy to have you. I mean, just one of my favorite people and one of our favorite guests. But
Yes.
before we go, just it's important for these kids to understand, especially these young minority kids, that there's a place for them in engineering. And also,
Mhm.
if we have any kids that are part of the LGBT community, that there's a place for them as well. So, despite despite being a triple minority in a field that for the longest time was dominated by white males, you've made a great name for yourself. So,
Thank you.
so why or how can these kids that may be a part of any of those groups or all of those groups be able to find themselves and become just as successful as you have?
Determination. Honestly, you have to be determined. Not saying that you're going to break down every wall. It's not saying that you're going to succeed in every trial or try it out. Like I've been in places where I was the only everything, and it was no one that I could relate to. It's no one that I can understand. But I built that rapport with those people because of the general respect and the job that we were able to do. And so it's being determined to know that, hey, it's not many people like me, but also I'm going to stand out in a good way, and be determined that you're going to stand out in a good way, but also be determined that you're going to enhance and grow. And then when you enhance and grow, just like when Greg asked me, when you asked me, what, almost 2 years ago, goodness, almost 2 years ago to start this program with you and work with you, I jumped at this chance because it was an opportunity of a lifetime. The one thing that I love to do is to be able to assist and to help and to bring people with me, because there's not many of us in this world on this side. So, because there's not many of us on this side of the world, I always like to bring people into my world. And if you like it, hey, great, stay, stick around, learn some more. And if you don't, I'll help you find what your niche is and what you like to do. And I'd love to just be a part of that. And that is the most rewarding piece, is that I'm able to not only help myself, but I'm able to help others.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and uh, we've got to have you on campus next time you're in town. It's just there's
Yes,
so much for you,
yes, definitely.
and we love to have you. But I know you're really busy. Thanks for taking some time for us today. It's always just such a pleasure.
Hey,
I love everything about what you stand for, and it's just doing such a great job. And I will talk to you extremely soon.
yes, sir. Yes, everybody. Hey, guys. And I'm proud of everyone. And I appreciate the opportunities every single time I get to talk to you. And yes, definitely, I am working on being on campus soon. So we will work that out before, if not when school ends, maybe after the new school year starts. So I am determined, people. Okay.
Love to have it. All right, Christa
All
Johnson,
right.
all the way from Houston, Texas. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.